An illegal migrant expected in court today, charged with assault on a federal officer after immigration agents tried to capture him in Los Angeles. Take a look. DOJ says he rammed his car into agents' vehicles when he was boxed in, sending smoke and debris into the air and causing the car to fishtail. An agent then opened fire, wounding the suspect and a U.S. Marshal with a ricocheted bullet. Neither of them seriously hurt. Suspect, known on TikTok as Richard L.A., he regularly follows ICE agents during their operations. Criminal defense attorney Josh Ritter joins me now. Josh, social media bravado against law enforcement has definitely ratcheted up into real world violence. How can prosecutors use this case to set an example?
Well, I think they need to charge him with something far more serious. The idea that he's being charged with assault on a federal officer and he's looking at potentially as much as 8 years in federal prison is not enough, in my view. I think there's an argument that he could easily be charged with attempted murder in this case. He weaponized his vehicle. He used his vehicle as a weapon. He could have easily killed someone, killed an innocent bystander. The officers firing off bullets in response to protect themselves could have harmed someone else. Easily someone could have ended up dead here. So I think if they want to set an example, if they want to let others know how seriously they're taking this, then they need to charge him seriously.
This is a guy that obviously stirs the pot on social media. But I want you to listen to another activist. And not only is this somebody who also stirs up the rhetoric on social media and the like, this is a Los Angeles school teacher teaching the children of Los Angeles who also received a human rights award from the folks at the California Teachers Association. Listen.
This is South Central Los Angeles. They are not the only ones with guns in this city. And I don't say that because we're calling for violence. I'm saying that because the people have every right to defend themselves against masked, unidentified gunmen with AR-15s and other military rifles. The people have every right to defend themselves. That's not violent, that's intelligent.
He does not get to qualify how we feel about a statement like that. If we feel it is calling for violence, then it's pretty clear it is. So at what point does speech like that rise to the level of speech that is not protected by the First Amendment because it ultimately does incite violence?
It's when it does exactly what you just said, when it incites violence. I mean, listen, the First Amendment is a huge protection, but it's not limitless. You know, we've all heard the example, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, where you also can't encourage others to commit violence against law enforcement. I mean, this is incredible to me how reckless it is, because these officers are out there doing an incredibly difficult job, and it's obviously potentially very dangerous, and they're trying their best to do it by preserving the safety of others, including those that they're detaining. And when you've got someone who's out there encouraging others to weaponize themselves, you're going to get this kind of conduct that we're talking about today, where somebody uses a vehicle. They don't need a weapon in the car. They don't need a gun in the car to cause harm and potentially death to others. If they're incited to this kind of action by the kind of words that you just played for us, it's incredibly reckless.
Yeah, and I wonder at some point if the DOJ needs to make an example out of these individuals, not to quell free speech, but to stop violence, because ultimately that's what the DOJ is there for. Before we let you go, the suspect accused of attempting to rape and murder a jogger on a Florida trail just had his bond revoked after he posted a video on social media that the judge said was meant to intimidate a witness. That, of course, violates the conditions of his release. That's not the story here. The story is this guy who was charged with attempted murder was out on a $9,500 bond in the first place. How did we even get to this point, Josh?
I have no idea. I mean, I understand things slipping through the cracks, but are you telling me that a prosecutor didn't speak up? The judge wasn't aware of what he was charged with? I just don't understand the circumstances that could lead to someone who, by the way, has a violent criminal history. They now want to charge him as a repeat criminal offender because he's committed 4 felonies in the past 4 years that are all violent. And you're going to tell me that that person, an attempted murder, a potential rape, and he's looking to get out with less than $10,000 in bail? I don't understand what leads to that.
And for those who say this can only happen in New York City because of Alvin Bragg and DAs like that, Larry Krasner in Philly, this happened in Florida. one of the most law and order states you can have. So pay attention. This could happen in your state, your city, your town. Josh Ritter, thank you for your time this morning. Really insightful. Appreciate it.
All right, you would think the press pool would actually realize that president after president, they have renovated, they have changed, they have upgraded the White House. This includes major changes under both Clinton and Obama. Now, the Trump-induced anger and rage on the left is beyond idiotic, and whether Democrats like it or not, one big, beautiful new ballroom paid for by the president himself and private donations will soon host major historic events for decades to come without spending one taxpayer penny. Here with reaction, the executive vice president at the Trump Organization, Donald Trump Jr. is with us. I don't know what to say. I mean, your dad's paying a lot of it out of his own pocket. He has other people donating for the project. He's going to spend $200 million to create a grand ballroom, and you would think this never happened before.
Sean, it's absolutely nuts. The reality is the White House needs to be more functional. It needs to be able to be used by the people. It needs to be able to host major functions for a lot of people. And I've spent a lot of time in the White House. It's an incredible building. It has a lot of historic significance, but it's also very small, much smaller than most people would realize. And if there's one person in America qualified to build something like this, it's actually Donald Trump, someone who's done hospitality and entertainment for his entire career before becoming a politician. This is something that's not going to make the White House worse. It's something that's going to enhance the White House greatly and make it more functional. And because of the time of construction, the great irony, despite what these idiots are saying, is that Donald Trump is the president that will actually get to use it the least. But he's the only one actually competent enough to do this, to do it right, and do it with a quality and historical significance that it deserves.
All right, Whoopi, you don't own it. Karine Jean-Pierre, this project is corruption at its core. How is it corruption when he's paying for it? I don't get it. Scarborough, Liberal Joe, slamming it, disgusting demolition. You know, all it takes is one little minor Google search, or you can ask, you know, Grok or ChatGPT, and you'll get an answer within seconds. And you get the whole history of renovations at the White House.
Well, the Democrats aren't exactly the brightest people, Sean. We've seen that this whole week. Everything they say is sort of meaningless, right? They're talking about having a no kings protest. And, you know, congratulations, guys, you won. We don't have kings. We have a president that was elected in a landslide electoral college win, someone who won the popular vote, someone who won all 7 swing states in a landslide fashion, someone, by the way, who, if he was a king, probably would just reopen the government, but it hasn't worked that way. If he was a king, he probably would have never left the office the first time. If he was a king, he wouldn't allow his government to prosecute and persecute him. And he certainly wouldn't allow people to assassinate him or try to at least twice. So this is just the usual Democrat nonsense. They throw out the talking points. You heard each one of these people say wrecking ball. You know, the DNC wrote the talking points. They have to say that. And none of it ever means anything. None of it's for the good of the people. You understand this. This is privately funded by him and others. It's not costing the American taxpayer a dime, and yet they're going to be the beneficiaries of that and the successes and the incredible meetings and get-togethers that we'll be able to have in the White House to celebrate America and its dominance across the world.
By the way, it beats putting a tent up in the backyard. Let's be honest, and you don't know what the weather's going to be. Did you spend any time watching the radicalism on display at this No Kings protest weekend that took place around the country, including calls to kill your father and kill ICE agents and shoot them, disgusting comments about Charlie Kirk, and I don't really see any purpose besides some people wanted to play dress up as mascots and furry animals. What impact, if any, do you take out of that? Because Ted Cruz is on after you. He thinks we should pay a little more attention to it than others.
Well, I think we do have to watch out for the radical left. They've shown that they're violent. We understand that their ideas don't work. They're getting desperate, and so they're resorting to violence. They're doing this. When they say in those same talking points I was talking about earlier that it's violence on both sides. No, it's not, Sean. There is no violence from the right. It is not both sides. It is from one side, and it was from the left alone. When I watched the protest this weekend, though, it was sort of funny because they're clearly not sending their best or their brightest, and maybe that's because they don't have anyone that's bright or good at anything that they do. It was laughable. The most fun I frankly had was watching my father on True Social respond to these people, and they're commenting back, we're protesting him, we're protesting him, and he's laughing at us in our faces. I mean, it's pretty funny. Watching these people dress up like clowns and they expect to be taken seriously, it's truly laughable, but that is the state of the Democrat Party. They're radical, terrorist, violence-preaching lunatics, and you can see it right on the screen right now, Sean.
Listen,
no one can describe it any better than just watching them, stupefy themselves.
Let them be the party of open borders. Let them vote for the largest tax increase in history. Let them be the party that wants Americans dependent on other countries for pharmaceuticals, semiconductor chips, and everything in between. And let them be the party
men and
that
women's
can accomplish...
sports, Sean. We got to have that. We got to make sure we have men and women's sports. Don't forget that one.
All right. Donald Trump Jr., thank you.